Hi there, Kyle, the angry archaeologist. Just paid a visit to my local historical society, the Scarborough Historical Society of Ontario, Canada. Founded in 1956, it has over the years been instrumental in saving many historical buildings of Scarborough and preserving them over time. Headquartered at this preserved historical building, the first general store in the city of Scarborough, opened by William Morrish in 1890, the Morrish General Store. It remained open until the 1960s when my own family first came to Ontario from Nova Scotia. I encourage everyone to connect with their own local historical societies and discover their own publicly available local histories. For instance, aside from portraits, the camera invented in 1822, after 1860 it became more widespread here in North America, portraits of the original owner of the store, William J. Morrish, taken sometime around 1890, and his wife Amelia A. Morrish were amazing to see. There is also detailed old maps, which the Historical Society of Scarborough have helpfully amended with old photos of the areas of the old city of Scarborough, which they have connected in a sort of historical collage, which is really cool to see. For instance, here is a zoom in on my own neighborhood within Scarborough, so it's pretty cool to see the area before, and kind of sad to see how much of the local environment has been lost, to be honest. But there were also photos like this, which looks quite old, maybe a photo from the 1870s. This could be either a rail station here in Scarborough Junction referring to a rail network, or maybe just by the looks of it, an old-fashioned horse and buggy way stop, a place to rest horses and buy food for couriers maybe. So this is pretty interesting to see as a local. And now, clearly forward in time, maybe the 1920s, I'm thinking, here we see the Scarborough bus line, original transit infrastructure in the early 20th century, at that time, rural Ontario, Scarborough. The name of the driver and the woman in the bus lost to time, but happy to see them today. I also thought the bus looks more like a repurposed farm tractor, which is kind of hilarious. It looks as if it could seat at least 10 people, maybe more. The Historical Society of Scarborough also provided early settler history of the area of Scarborough for visitors. For instance, it was originally opened for colonists in 1796, and in 1799, David and Mary Thompson, namesake of our local park with its own preserved historical buildings, saved by Historical Society of Scarborough. That is when they arrived. Interesting to see the emphasis on farming, as now no farming takes place here in Scarborough, Ontario. Interesting to find out it was originally named Glasgow, except Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe, highest colonial officer in Upper Canada in the 1790s, his wife Elizabeth Simcoe decided it reminded her of Scarborough in England, specifically the Scarborough Bluff, so Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe gladly changed the name. It was John Graves Simcoe who, even by the standards of his day in office, was a bit of a radically devoted loyalist to Britain, especially during the Revolutionary War. It was he who came up with the idea of naming places in southern Ontario after places in England, in part trying to attract late loyalists to settle here after the American Revolutionary War. But at your local historical society, you can also find really interesting books which may be hard to find since they are about the history of your own local area, which some areas just don't bother to really make anymore unless you live in a very well known area, which mine is not. Like this book here, History of Scarborough, first printed in 1968, although this is a 1974 reprint. It has some really interesting niche historical info of my own hometown here in Scarborough, Canada. Scarborough being incorporated into Toronto in 1998. The book includes pics and details of the reaction of settler Canadians, for instance, and First Nations peoples to the 1954 discovery of Tabor Hill, the 14th century Wendat Huron ossuary, which I've done a video on. It is really nice to see the cooperation of First Nation authorities, settler academics, and settler government here at that time, although some of the vocabulary is not appropriate for today. And I covered a picture in the bottom right corner here since it may in fact be a candid shot of a First Nation ceremony being conducted as a form of re-commemoration, and I'm not going to share something which may be sacred or private information. It's an example of how it's always good to be aware of your sources and the different attitudes at different times towards different people's privacy and journalism standards at that time. But nevertheless, this book provides first-hand information about how the site was received by people at the time of its discovery, so that is very helpful. In addition to that, there are also some beautiful black and white paintings, I believe, but beautiful paintings of early Toronto, like here, just a few years before the War of 1812, a picture of Toronto in 1803, although at that time the city was named York from 1793 to March 1834, thanks to Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe. And the citywide initiative called Open Doors Toronto was advertised at the open house, which is really nice because every year on the 24th and 25th of May, historical buildings are opened up to visitors across the city for free. So look them up at that time if you're in Toronto to see about visiting your own local neighborhood historical society and its preserved historical buildings at the time. So yes, I really enjoyed my time at the Scarborough Historical Society, the Morris General Store. And if you're a local like myself, please search them up on Google and visit one of their locations at one of their pre-appointed times. Scarborough is, as an idea, is a place of immigrants and immigration to First Nations lands, and understanding that and our place in our own history can help us interact with other peoples today in a healthier way. Our history is ongoing. Thank you, Kyle, the Angry Archaeologist.